Her smart and actionable advice has been featured on all the local news stations, CBS, NBC, and ABC. As an advocate for better business and better living, Irina helps individuals and groups up-level their motivation, effectiveness, and personal and professional relationships for greater success and happiness. When she's not on stage, working with a client or locked away in her office writing her upcoming book, she can be found on a hiking trail with her husband, playing board games with her children, or looking for the next great opportunity to make someone's day. So welcome, Irina.
Never pass up a chance to make someone's day. I've said those words 100 times to my kids. I've heard those words in my head 1,000 times as I recall the values that my parents raised me with. I've enacted those words countless times. So why wasn't I doing it? I was sitting on the train headed back to Philly from New York, and I was all set. I just sat down, the laptop popped open, getting ready to work on an important presentation. And I had my privacy, my measuring privacy bubble up. You guys know the one where they like pull over and just all around you just to make sure that you have the privacy that you need to read your book or listen to your music or do the work that you want to work. And it usually is effective, except when it's not. Except when your seatmate insists on speaking to you, and that was the case. So he sat down and said, "Hey, don't I know you?" No, I don't think so. No, I know. Yeah, I've seen you on TV. You're that life coach. You've been on Talk Philly, right? With Pat and Yuki. Oh, are they nice? Super nice. Trying so hard to hold on to my bubble, the privacy bubble, because I have work to do. So, relationships. You talk about relationships a lot, and I really love some advice. As a matter of fact, it would make my day if you could help me out. Really? Really? That would make it sense. Okay, so I had a decision to make. I could try to politely explain that I'm working on something important and I just can't right now. I could make an escape. There were other seats on the train. Or I could try to help him. So I closed the laptop and I said, okay, let's start again. Hi, I'm Irina. Hi, I'm Joe. Great, Joe. So, tell me what you got. What's going on? How can I help? And he said, well, basically, I'm a good guy. I work hard, I have a great family, I love my friends, but things just don't feel like I want them to feel. I don't necessarily feel like I'm an effective manager. I have great people that I work with, but I'm not always getting my point across. My boss is a good guy too, but sometimes I feel like he doesn't get me, doesn't really have my back. Things at home have been strained, and I guess some of that is normal, but my marriage doesn't feel as fun and easy as it used to. I don't spend as much time with my kids because I work so hard, and relationships have just gotten tougher. So, can you help? And I said, yeah, I'll try. I'll try to help, but you have to promise me 3 things. That you'll take notes. He's like, really? Are we in school? I said, well, I want you to take notes because the fact is that we're all busy and there's so much information coming at us that we typically only retain 10 to 25% of what we hear. So if I'm going to invest the next hour and you're going to invest the next hour, I don't want you to retain 10 to 25%. I want you to retain more than that. So when we take notes, we probably double that. It goes up to 50% of what we retain. So we take some notes? Yeah, take some notes. Great. Second thing I'd like you to do is take action. With every tip that I share with you, I'm going to actually ask you to enact it here with me. And he said, oh, that's kind of goofy. I said, it is goofy. But the fact is that we learn through action, not through information. And if you ask anybody who's read more than one diet book, if that is true, it is. We don't actually change our behavior by just getting information. We change it by enacting and really feeling things personally. And the third thing I'm going to ask you to do is pass it on, because that 10 to 25% retention number of when we just hear something actually skyrockets to 95 to 100% 100% when we're able to conceptualize something for ourselves and then teach it or pass it on to somebody else. So are you game? Are you willing? Do we have a deal? And Joe said, deal, we have a deal. As he took out his notebook, I shared my 6 tips with him about relationship effectiveness. Would you guys like to hear them too? Okay. So the first one was, start with why. Why do you want to get better at relationships? Why do you want to be more effective? And on the surface, that sounds pretty easy, right? I want to be happier. I want to be more successful. I want to have more love in my life. Yes, and for most of us, there's something deeper than that. So if I can have a volunteer come up, and this part's easy, I'm just going to ask you to read some questions off the screen. So somebody come up and role play this with me. All right, so that's great. Thank you so much for coming up. So we're gonna go through the 4 questions to kind of dig a little bit deeper with the why. So you're gonna ask me first, why do I
do you want to have more effective relationships?
So I want to have more effective relationships because I want to be happier, and I think it would just be better to feel closer to my friends and family. I really love the people in my life, and I want to feel closer to them.
Is there an even bigger why?
I guess if I just think beyond happiness, personal and professional success. I think my life will be more successful if I have better relationships and I'm more effective.
And is there an even bigger why than that?
Even bigger than personal and professional success?
Yeah.
Let's see. Well, I guess if I think beyond my own life, beyond my own successes, if I think about every person that I interact with, every conversation that I have, every relationship that I'm able to build, and I think beyond just that and into who those people will interact with, and the children that they'll have, and the children that they'll have, if I'm able to make a little bit of a tiny impact, that maybe that will resonate out into people I've never even met and make the world a better place.
Is there an image that might capture?
There is. Something like that. Something like ripple effects. Like throwing a pebble into a lake and seeing it ripple even beyond what I can imagine. Thank you. Very good. You guys give that a round of applause. So you see how I went just from my own very easy personal, I want to be happier, to a much bigger vision of why it's important for me to be more effective in relationships. So now's your turn. Remember that take notes, take action. I'd like you guys to buddy up. Just the person sitting next to you. And we're going to just take a minute on each side. We're going to do 4 questions. Start with, why do you want to have more effective relationships? And then just give them a little bit of space and time, and then go second, third, fourth. Deal? Guys ready? Go! Next you guys are talking about your bigger why. Why you want to be more effective in relationships. Then you're going to get an image, like I had the ripple effects. And a tree with big branches and big roots. That's really cool. Thank you. Awesome. Is there another again? An image of your daughter. That's beautiful. Who else got an image? Yeah?
A puzzle where all the pieces fit together.
Ooh, good one. Yeah. Can you guys see how the images are so much more impactful than the string of words describing how we want to be better at relationships? Yeah.
Well, mine started out a little dark. It was a big abyss, but then there was a bridge across.
Oh, what does the bridge symbolize?
Relationships.
Beautiful. Love it. Yeah. So homework for you. I'm a coach. I give homework phone screensaver, put it on your bathroom mirror, take a little snapshot of it and stick it in your wallet, but somewhere where it can be a touch point on a daily basis. Because looking at that bridge or that puzzle piece or that tree or that picture of your daughter will connect you to why it is that you want to put the effort towards building better relationships, because it is effort. It's not just easy and natural as we like it to be. It takes some lifting, it takes some muscle. Which brings me to point number 2, building our listening muscles. Any weightlifters in the room? Anybody who works out with weights? All right, so back me up on this, guys. We don't just approach weightlifting like, just pick this up, right? We get centered, we take a certain position, we take a breath, and we get ready to lift. There's a certain amount of preparation, even if it just takes a second. There's a certain mind space, there's a certain way that you hold your body before you lift a weight. Yes? Yes. Okay. Same thing with listening. We think it just comes easily and naturally, but actually the weight that we're trying to lift when we're listening is clarity. And clarity was the #1 pain point that you guys told me about in your surveys. You said it in a variety of different ways, but basically, most of us, when we're thinking of what's challenging for us in relationships and in communication, it's something around clarity. How do I communicate? How do I listen? How does my team come together? Is there clarity? Are we all on the same page? Do we really understand what each other is saying? So clarity is a pretty heavy weight to lift, and that's why we want to keep toning up our listening muscles to get there. And again, I'm going to ask for a volunteer to help me with this. I want to enact what clarity might look like, done well, and maybe done not so well. Yeah, please, come on.
more about why you don't think it went so well?
We're gonna start again. You actually can't see why I'm angry. All you can see is that, again, just as I say this in the middle as possible, so I can see,
You're upset.
that's it, and then stop, and then tell me more. That's a three. Right? I can't believe how terrible that went.
I can see you're upset. Can you tell me more?
Yeah, I'm upset. I'm an idiot. I can't believe I walked into that meeting without doing a simple Google search on the company first. Who does that? They just declared bankruptcy last week, and I went in there asking them for $10 million. I feel awful about myself.
Me too.
I just thought there were two completely different reactions, right? He went from apologizing and feeling bad about himself to compassion and trying to help me feel better. And what was the difference? What was the difference in our conversations?
Clarity.
Clarity. It took him a little bit, but he got centered. he took a breath, he got ready to lift the heavy weight, and he got clarity. We have choice. Unlike animals who are just instinctual and reactors, human beings have choice. That choice lies usually in a tiny window. So with Matt, you saw that tiny window happen right here where he took a breath and he decided that he wasn't going to be reactive, he was going to be responsive. He wasn't just going to assume, he was going to question, he was going to make a contact statement and say, tell me more. So that can be a split second, that moment of choice, or it can be 24 hours. Depends on the person, right? But the key here is that we give ourselves that window. It can be a tiny window or it can be a longer window depending on what we need. The key is that we take the window, that we don't just react. All right, your turn. Buddy up again. And I want you guys to recreate. I want each pair to recreate a recent drama. It can be in your personal life, your professional life. Just think back on the last week or two. A conversation that didn't go so well. So we'll need one speaker, one listener. You guys get to decide who's got the better drama. We're not going to take turns this time. So just one conversation. So, speaker, your job is to, with as much theatrical emotion as you can muster, to recreate a challenging conversation that happened in the recent past. Something real, don't make it up. And listener, your job is to first react, give them an initial reaction with no thought, like, oh, just like Matt did. And then try it again, and then take two. All right, ready? Go. Okay. Let me hear from some listeners. What was the difference between reacting in scenario one and responding in scenario two? Yeah.
When you respond, you can actually get something done. If you're just reacting, you're just going to make it worse. And it's going to just get bigger and bigger. But if you actually stop, take a breath, and respond to the situation, make it right.
So you felt more productive when you were responding. Fantastic. Thank you. Yeah, empathy happens. We go beyond our assumptions and we actually can step into the person's experience because they've told us more. They've allowed us to see what their side of it is. Yeah, absolutely. Was it harder to do the response versus the reaction? Was it more unnatural? Was it awkward? Was it heavier? Sometimes it can be. We're actually not wired to respond. We're wired to react. So that does take some heavy lifting. So good job, you guys. And when you see that, to your point in the back of how sometimes people are dismissive and they're reactive and they rush past our thoughts and feelings. When you see somebody doing the heavy lifting, people people in this room notice. Tell them, say, hey, nice flexing. That wasn't necessarily an easy thing to do, and I saw you being really responsive. Because that's the thing, it takes practice, and it takes positive reinforcement, like any new habit that we want to develop. It helps to hear people say, hey, I caught you doing something well, and I want to acknowledge that. So, more homework for you guys. Catch each other doing it. All right, now that we've built up our muscles a little bit, let's talk about something even heavier, contracts. So contracts are kind of a funny thing in our society. There are places where we absolutely expect them, like when we're renting apartments and buying cars and admitting ourselves into the hospital and getting divorced. There's all kinds of contracts with 20 pages full of details. And then there's areas of our lives where we don't expect contracts, and the concept of a contract would kind of be weird, like in a friendship or in a relationship. Like, I don't know, what do you mean by contracts? But imagine this. Imagine walking into a car dealership and saying, that red convertible over there, I really like it, and I want to be its owner, so I'm a really good person, and we really don't need much more detail than that. Trust me, okay? I'd like the keys, please. And I'll send you the check once a month for an amount that I feel appropriate, and I'll take relatively good care of it. When I don't, I'll bring it back, and you do what you need to do to make it right, and everything will be good. Good, okay? Can I have the keys? Would that work in a car dealership? It wouldn't. But we expect it to work in relationships. We kind of sort of know what each other wants. We kind of sort of assume that we have clarity. We kind of sort of assume that we have similar values to the people in our personal and professional lives. And we often get disappointed. And we often get the, oh, I can't believe he did that. I can't believe she said that. So the concept of contracts, I want you to think beyond paper and black and white, but just in terms of understanding, in terms of people being on the same page. So I'm going to ask for another volunteer. I know, we're working our way through the room. And this time, I want a volunteer, if I could please, somebody who has been a manager before, not at CHOP, somebody who's been a manager before and has had disappointing relationships with people that they manage. Can I have somebody like that? To make April Stewart up here. Thank you. You're safe for the moment. Hi, Becky. So, Deb and I just started working meeting your expectations? How are things feeling between us? Is there anything that I can tweak? Is there any way that we can work together better? And I've just found that in all of my relationships, honestly, I do this in my personal life too. My husband rolls his eyes and goes, "Oh, is it time for our quarterly meeting?" Like, yeah, honey, it is. But I've really found that when I don't let things kind of wait too long, when I nip problems in the bud, when I'm able to actually see things that are working well and doing more of them, I'm happier and more productive in my relationship. So can we have that quarterly lunch and just ask the question of how we're doing?
Yes, I think that's a good idea.
Fantastic. And the last thing I just wanted to mention is that I have figured out that email is just really problematic for me. It's just ding, 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 all day long. So I have found, and I know this is a little weird and quirky, so feel free to tell me if it doesn't work for you, and we'll try to figure something out. But I have found that if I do email between 8 and 9 a.m. and 4 and 5 p.m. and leave the rest of the day open to work on projects that are really important, I am 1,000 times more productive. And if you need me in the hours when I'm not on email, maybe you can text me or call me or shoot, just walk into my office and tell me what's on your mind. Would that be okay? Would that work in terms of communication between the two of us?
Sometimes that might work, and there will be times when that won't work.
Okay.
And we'll have to navigate through that so that we can both be effective in terms of our communication styles.
Okay, deal. So how do we do that? How will I know when it's not working for you so that we need to tweak that a little bit?
If I'm going to send you an email in the middle of the day, I might have to preface it with a call telling you to check the email.
So if I get a text from you that says PM, I know that I need to go check email right away. It'll take me 2 seconds. It'll take me 2 seconds.
Perfect.
Or you can just yell. Yeah, it's just like throwing text.
Check the email. It's got the file.
That works. That's fantastic. Deal. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. We just created a little contract. We just went from, that's a pretty red sports car, I'd like to own it, can I have the keys please, to, yeah, here are the rules I'm willing to follow, here's what I'm gonna do, here's what you're gonna do, and here's what's gonna happen if things don't go as planned. We made a little relationship contract. Was it different? Was it weird? Was it goofy? Maybe, a little bit, but how did it feel?
It actually felt very attractive. I like that you were coming to your supervisor with a plan for being more effective, which would in turn reflect on me as your supervisor, because you were aware of what the needs were for you to work well. You
Yeah.
really need to be a partner.
Beautiful. Did you guys hear the word choose? Effective. That's what we're doing here right now. We're trying to figure out how to be more effective in our relationships. So again, is the word contract kind of goofy and strange and weird when it comes to relationships? Yeah, it is. But it can be effective. So, you knew this was coming. Your turn. Buddy up. 3. A relationship. Make it up. It can be a personal one. It can be a professional one. Don't do a big one like marriage, because we'll be here for a while. But make up a relationship and make a mini contract. Just a couple points, 2, 3, 4 points. It's easy to figure out. Was that effective? Was it different? Was it strange? Was it hard? Was it goofy?
And then I asked to have a job shadow once a month with somebody else outside of the department or at shop. So now I'm suggesting that I do that twice a year as opposed to once a month, which I thought was very appreciated.
Fantastic. So what I'm hearing there was that both parties were able to talk about what they wanted, both were able to give advice about what might work, what might not. It was a little contract negotiation, wasn't it? Fantastic, yeah. So clarity, that's what I'm here. That was the theme, yes? Did everybody experience more clarity in that conversation? Fantastic.
Megan, haven't you and I had that conversation multiple times?
I'm providing every year. I need to have an HR too.
Tell me
I
more.
think you might need to recontract here. All right. So the next point is the difference between content and process. So imagine if I had walked up to I'm not going to walk all the way back there, but if I had walked up to my new boss and instead of saying, can we sit down and have a conversation about how I'd like our relationship to go, if I had just stood over her and said, hey, listen, I have some ways that work for me and some ways that don't. So here are the 3 things that are really important. Good? Are we good here? Same content, really, but very different process. How would that conversation have gone? Not like that. So when I say the word process, what comes to mind? What is process when we communicate, when we talk, when we're in a relationship? What is process? I heard it's the how, yeah, and
Tone and setting.
tone, absolutely, yeah. What else? Your approach, yeah. You guys, you got it. It's how we're saying, it's who we're being, as opposed to what it is that we're saying. Two very different things, right? And usually we spend a lot of time and effort and attention on the words. Here's what I want to communicate. Here's what's really important. Here's the technical aspects of my presentations. Here are my slides. It's the content is what we focus on. But really, when we receive that communication, what percentage of it would you say? Take a guess. What percentage of it is concept versus process? When we're receiving information, what percentage of our 100% experience is what we get through content versus what we get through the how, through the tone, through the approach?
25%.
Say again?
25%.
25, 75? Any other guesses? 20, 80? Good guess. Any other guesses? So there's actually a lot of studies on this topic, and here's what the science shows. Our words account for 7%. 7% of what our listener receives. And yet we spend 99% of our attention, focus, intention, efforts on those words. They're only 7% of what the audience is receiving. 93% is process. It is your tone. It is your presence. It is how you're approaching. It is who you're being. And this is just one of my favorite quotes that captures just that. People will forget what you said. They will forget that 7%, those words. They'll even forget what you did. They will never forget how you made them feel. That's process. How do you make people feel in your relationships with them? How do you want to make people feel? So this time I'm not going to ask you to buddy up. I'm just going to ask you to take notes. So list 5 ways that you want to make people feel. So in my relationships, I want to make people feel welcome. I want to make them feel safe. I want to make them feel happy. How do you want to make them feel? Who's got a good one? How do you want to make people feel? Val? 4, and she was an Eagles cheerleader for Halloween. It was Halloween weekend, and the house was full of candy. And she said, "Mama, can I have a piece of candy?" I said, "Oh, Allie, you've been eating candy all weekend, but okay, one more piece, just one last piece, last one, okay?" And she said, "Yeah, okay." Just 4. So she took the last piece, and then as most 4-year-olds would do who enjoy candy, 30 seconds later, she looked over her shoulder to see if I was watching, and went like that, and I said, hey, I said that was the last piece. And she said, "Okay, but just one more." 4-year-olds, they're really good salespeople. Just one more, so I can tell this to Mom. Just one more, and if I have that one more, I promise tomorrow I won't have any, because it'll be Monday, and Halloween weekend will be over, and then this is my most special Kit Kat. I was saving it for Sunday night. She had a whole story, and it was pretty compelling, and I said, "Okay, but if you promise, that's the last piece, and no more tomorrow, okay, you can have that second piece." So I said yes, and my older, wiser friend who was visiting from Maryland was watching this whole scene unfold and just went, "Thank you." So you heard it in my living room too. And he just shook his head, and I said, "What? She's a kid, it's Halloween weekend, what?" And he said, "Say what you mean what you say." And I said, "What am I supposed to do? It's Halloween weekend." And he said, "You're supposed to do that. You're supposed to love her enough to give her boundaries and to let her trust your word and let her trust the world that she's growing up in. To let her know that life is not a slippery slope of, yeah, maybe, no, I guess, yeah, okay." You're supposed to let her know that yes means yes and no means no. Okay. Point made, lesson learned. But how often do we do this in relationships? How often do we say we'll show up somewhere at 10 o'clock and show up at 10:05 with a story? How often do we say, "I will have something for you," and then deliver 99.5% of that thing that we said we would have? We do that often. So the key to say what you mean what you say, is actually to say no more. Is to only say yes to the things that you know you can deliver 100%. If you're not sure you can be there at 10 o'clock, say, "I'm not sure I can be there at 10 o'clock, I'll try." But if you say you're going to be there at 10 o'clock, move mountains. If you say you're going to deliver the report, not 99% of the report. So, over to you. Think about one little commitment, something that you can say yes to in your personal or professional life, and make a commitment to the person sitting next to you. I will do this. I am saying yes to this. And the homework is the next time you see that person who just said, "This is what I'll do," ask them, "Did you do it?" So help each other. Say what you mean what you say, make people understand. All right, last one. Who could have guessed that I was going to end on this one? Don't ever miss the chance to make someone stay. I promise, if you go through life with this lens of how can you be of service, how can you be of value, how can you be of help, everything will transform. Your relationships, your stress levels, your health, your appreciation and enjoyment of life. And so, what might that look like? First of all, before I tell you what that looks like, can I have one volunteer from each table, just one person come on up